That'll be great.
Good evening. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society Net. I'm Dave, WW7ATS, the Western Washington Amateur Television Society. A group of amateur radio enthusiasts that take to the airways with fast-scan television. We have a repeater located up on Cougar Mountain. Crossband repeater. The input is on 70 centimeters and its output is at 1.2 gigahertz. So before we go any farther with the net this evening, I'm Dave, KD7CYM. We'll pause in case anybody has emergency traffic or needs to make a contact. Hearing none. Again, this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society Net on the 08 repeater. I'm Dave, KD7CYM, taking check-ins. Who wants to check in, come forward now.
7QKU, and Lee said he'd be here in a minute.
Got Ron, KD7QKU, and pending on Lee and 7KC. Is there anybody else who would like to check in?
This is James, WU7N, Whiskey Uniform.
Platform 7 November. Dave, do you copy?
Glad to have you checked in. Anybody else that would like to check in? Let's go up to Ron, KD7QKU.
This is KD7QKU. Well, someone else is playing around with the repeater, and they had it. There's some cameras up there that I didn't know about, and they were showing the pictures on the monitor. I can see the pictures on the monitor. It looked like they were looking maybe in towards Seattle or Bellevue, and then they were looking at Squawk Mountain and maybe Issaquah and stuff, and then they were looking at the towers and everything. So I don't know who was doing it. Now they switched it back, so we have control of it. But anyway, it was interesting to see the pictures. I don't know if you saw them, Dave, and I don't know if you saw them, James, but pretty interesting. I didn't know that existed. And then I went over on one of the other, when we can control it, I went over in a different spot, and there was a computer screen, and somebody had a mouse on it, and they were doing things. And then they taken control of it again and went back to see the pictures. So I don't know if it was Rob or somebody else, but anyway, it was pretty interesting. All right, back to net, KD7QKU.
7QKU. Let's go on to WU7N, James.
Interesting pictures. Whoever was doing that, thank you. They were very interesting. Far more interesting than what I had to show tonight. Turn my signal off. Okay, came back on here. Dave, should I continue to transmit video? Just a note for everyone, it takes almost 3/4 to 1 full second for the receive side to get to the transmit side. So if you just push the button and say yes, all you hear is a courtesy tone. Go ahead and continue on. I cannot remember if Dave, if you showed something like this or someone else has. It seems like in the darkness of my mind and memory, I remember a tool of this type, and I'm assuming it's a kitchen tool because it came into a kitchen, came from a kitchen rather, and it's sort of like a pair of scissors with this pointed, serrated tip, kind of like a beak of a bird. You squeeze the two spring-loaded handle sides together, the beak of the bird opens up. And I can't remember if someone had shown something like this. I think they had, and if so, did we ever identify it? So anyway, that was my 2 bits for first round here tonight. This is James, WU7N, back to net.
Staff are repeating something, taking the piss out of olives or cherries or something.
7ZYM, I'm sorry, I just got a phone call from Rob explaining the video that was on earlier, so continue on.
Else that just broke in there too. There was someone else that just came in on the 147.080. Did they need to say something? I heard something about pits, and that's all I heard.
Can't confirm that. I was on the cell phone with Rob, so the last 3-4 minutes I really wasn't paying attention to what was coming in on the net.
I kind of remember seeing something like that a long time ago. AF7WE.
7WE, AF7WE, this is WW7N, listening on 147.080, go ahead.
N7KC.
Okay, maybe that was just a boo-boo mic thing there. Let me go ahead and turn my video back on, Dave, because you were kind of the person I wanted to ask this question of. And it was as follows. This device here came out of a kitchen drawer, and maybe it's my imagination, but I think you had showed something similar, or maybe someone else had. It's got a little serrated tip, and the body of it is a spring-loaded, sort of like a pliers thing. And when you push the pliers side, it opens like this. And I can't remember if you showed this, or if so, if we ever identified what it was supposed to do. That was my question of the net tonight here. WU7N, back to net.
Unfortunately, I'm getting a very bad reception on the 1.2 gig tonight for some reason, but I'm not seeing streaming video of that either.
Oh, maybe I'll try next net.
This is KD7ZYM. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Net. I just heard from Rob, and basically position 3 on the controller will bring in those cameras. He was doing it remotely himself, and he'll do it back after the net, and or we could do it now if you want to see more of it, but we can continue on with the net. Apparently he has able to take control and use input number 3 and be able to bring that video up of the array of cameras that are up there on the mountain. Let's go over to Ron, KD7QKU.
Okay, thank you. KD7ZYM in the group, KD7QKU. Yeah, those are very nice pictures that Rob was showing. But that puts a question in my mind. If it's going to be in that video position, and what is Bob going to use when he wants to use, oh darn, I can't think of what it's called, because that's the position that he always used, so maybe they made allowances for that, I don't know. So anyway, well, James, your audio wasn't really good tonight, but I could understand you okay. It was, well, that instrument that you had looked like something that a doctor would use to do a vaginal inspection, or open something up anyway. So I don't know what it is, but that's what I've seen in veterinary and doctors' offices and stuff. So I forget what it's called, but anyway, or you could look in a rectum, or you could look in anything you wanted to look in and hold it open. So I don't know what you got, James, but that's what it looks like to me. So anyway, I guess let's put Mr. Lee on, and maybe he can give us his opinion. So go ahead, Lee.
Okay, this is Lee at 7KT in Port Angeles. Okay, well, first off, let me get to the gadget that James was holding up. I think it's a device for taking, for undoing, if a fish gets hooked down its gullet, I think it's a gadget that you slide down, open his mouth, and you slide down and remove the hook from the fish's gullet and let it go. I think that's what it's for. That's my vote. Now, the other thing is that, good evening to everybody. I was a little late getting here. It's a crazy story, which I'll repeat if pressed. Anyway, I feel like an idiot. But anyway, let's see. Echolink is working. The stream seems to be working very well. I have a beautiful picture from Ron here. Whoops, I take that. Okay, now I'm live. Now I see myself. Let's see. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see. Let's see about what the latency was. Oh, it's about 8 seconds. Okay, they haven't changed it back to ultra fast or ultra low latency yet, which is around 2 seconds. But I think Rob asked Corey to do that. And I did send out a couple of emails. I forwarded them. It came from Rob saying that Tiger is now apparently out of service for the winter, the way I read the thing, and that the repeater is now operating from Cougar. The 08 machine is a Cougar. So that's good for some and bad for others, I think. Anyway, but no matter. Okay, I don't have anything else at the moment. Good to be on. No serious rain here yet, but we're hoping we'll get some. Anyway, this is N7KC in Port Angeles. Back to you, Ned.
We got you, Lee. Thanks, Ron, for patching video of Lee. And again, Ron does an outstanding job on that. So let's go over to James, WU7N.
Turn on the transmitter, video transmitter here. And here's what the radar looks like right now. And I think I can get a loop going. Let me see if that works. I think you're definitely in for some rain tonight, Ron. What I'm seeing right now is a lot of activity between Astoria and Hoquiam, and it all seems to be moving north, and I can't believe it'll all be rained out by the time it gets to Port Angeles there. That's the coastal side view. Here's the view from the transmitter in Seattle, which it doesn't show all the water that's coming in off the Pacific. For a minute and let me ask Ron, since you gave the signal report, is this audio any better or not?
Yes, your audio is just fine. Your video is pretty good, too.
Well, Dave, I don't know if you can see this or not, but I'm going to try and show my mystery tool one more time. And I got to say that if this is a veterinarian tool, I do not want to be a cat or a dog in Ron's office. The only thing I could figure it to be, perhaps, and the problem with this is that the tip doesn't seem to be that strong. I mean, it's not like it's made of real high-quality metal. It seems like it's just kind of like tin that's been pressed. Thinking maybe it was something that you pried into a shellfish with the tip, and then once you got the tip in, I don't know, maybe you opened it up. But Lee's idea that you could use this in the mouth of a fish to open it up and then reach the hook out, that's actually would be a good use for this kind of a tool. So maybe that's the closest one so far. But anyway, that's it for me. Let me turn it back to Net. This is WU7N.
WU7N, I think I'm with Lee. Would be something to remove a fish hook from a fish. I've never encountered any of this thing in any of my cooking experiences in my life, so I don't think it would be used too much in a kitchen, even to clean out a turkey on Thanksgiving. So I just saw a check-in by K7HYB Gary So let's go to Gary. ID from Gary, but no audio on the 08 machine. Getting no audio from Gary. I don't know if he has the right tone up, 103.5.
I guess I didn't have it. Are you copying me now? I had the wrong field.
Now, and your ID's coming in fine. It's about a P3.
No color. Sorry about I was rattling on there, and I wasn't realizing I didn't see the repeater. I had the Tiger Mountain tone on, and I don't know why because I checked it earlier today to make sure I had the right tone. Anyway, so about the streaming, I have the same question about that Ron does about input 3. If we've dedicated that to those cameras, and that's pretty slick. It's too bad our streaming isn't running 24 hours a day, so we can see it all the time. But I wonder what we're going to do as far as the grand stream is concerned. Because I'm just getting ready to buy one of those things so I can get a better signal into the repeater. Anyway, that's all I got for this go around. Back to you, Dave. K70YM, K7HYB.
YB, this is KD7ZYM, again, the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, net on the 08 machine. Well, it's starting to rain the last hour and a half here in Lake City, so some of the rain is coming through currently. As for me today, a little more yard work in the morning before the rain totally saturated things, so I got that pretty well underway. And now the next move for the yard would be have about 3 days of dryness so I can mow the front lawn. It was pretty damp the last 3 days. It's in the shade side of the house, so it will need about a week of dryness, I think, before I can mow. Excitement of my yard work today. So with that, let's go up to Ron, KD7QKU.
UZ test. QKU in the group. Well, I'm still intrigued with James's instrument there. I've been a long-time fisherman. I've been in lots of sporting goods stores. I've never seen anything like that. I've never seen anything like that for sale that would open up a fish's mouth. I think it'd be something that a proctologist might use when he's checking your hemorrhoids. Or maybe a urologist would use it when you had kidney stones and he's trying to remove them. I don't know, James. Whatever you got there. I don't know where you got it. That might lend a clue as to what it's for. But anyway, so I'm going to pass it over to Lee after that.
Oh my gosh. I tell you, N7KC, Lee in Port Angeles. Listen, you ever walk into a doctor's office and you see you laying on the table, turn around. It's like it's like the GPS gal says, it's the first opportunity, turn around. Listen, I was going to ask James, listen, when I was a kid, we used to take, occasionally a fish would get hooked deep like that. It was very hard to get out. A lot of people used the long needle-nose pliers, the ones with the really long snout on them. But what we used to do, if you bend the lower jaw of the fish back, it'll open its mouth, and we'd reach down there with something long. But that seems like just the perfect thing, If there's a little thing that would slide on the very point of that, James, if there's a little notch or something that would slide down the fish line to get to the hook, that might confirm my suspicions that that's what it's for, but then I don't really know. Yeah, anyway, oh well. Let's see, what else is new? Well, I'm going to go out. There's a fella here in town, Chuck Jones, N7BV, who's got a contest station up at his place. He's about 900 feet up Deer Park Road. And he asked me and a few other people to assist him with the CQ WW7ATS CW contest this weekend. It's a 48-hour thing, and he was going to set up shifts of 4 hours. And so I've been practicing like 60 here on Morris Runner and so forth, trying to get the feel of, apparently it's set up a lot like the logger N1MM. And I have N1MM as well, and I've looked at that. Anyway, so I don't know much about that end of things, but I might be able to make a few contacts for him, so we're going to give that a try. And that was the reason. I'm about out of time. N7KC, Lee in Port Angeles, back to net.
87QKU again. Well, they make a gadget like this, and it's a coil spring on the right side, and you squeeze it together and you stick it in a fish's mouth, and then you let go, and it holds the fish's mouth open. They use them, for pike and things like that, and they're made out of a heavy spring, and they're hard to squeeze. So I've seen things like that, if you can kind of picture that, in the sporting goods store, but I have never seen anything like James was showing. So back to net, KD7QKU.
Great to see a mystery item, and James certainly can seem to find them. And speaking of James, WU7N, why don't you take the net?
Okay, this is James, WU7N. Thank you very much for your comments, opinions, ideas. And Dave, if I can't imagine a cooking implement created that you could not identify. I'm going to pause for a minute. I think I heard someone say testing, and I didn't quite catch their call sign. If you're still listening, we welcome everyone to our net. If you're still out there, go ahead. Okay, no station heard. I'm going to have a boring picture of myself up here for a while. Well, you know, the shellfish idea, but let me just say, Ron, in addition to not wanting to ever be your cat or your dog, I never want to be your patient either. Wow, this thing here, it's cheap, it's plastic, and the metal on the tip isn't very good quality. It's kind of a tinny thing, so I can't imagine it would have a medical use. But you never know. Pun intended, but you never know. Maybe it was a part of some kind of a disposable medical kit. I have to say, after your comments, though, I'm definitely going to wash my hands and probably wash the device after I'm done here, and probably wash the keyboard and wash my handheld transceiver as well. So interesting thoughts on this. I have to say, the person handling this estate flew in yesterday again. I'd been doing a bunch of work while they were out of town. And I think I'm up to something like 15 trips to the Goodwill. And I myself, I'm not sure if I've ever actually walked into that Goodwill in Bellevue, but might they have some nice stuff in there. I walked out with 3 pairs of pants because I'd ended up tearing 3 pairs of pants moving stuff out of this house. As my sister would say, the pants were definitely at the end of their useful service life, meaning they were so thin in parts they were getting ready to shred anyway. The problems when you start actually doing something that almost is similar to working for a living. But Dave, you're right. I mean, there's just been an endless stream of mystery items coming out of this place. Some identifiable, some not. I'll have to bring in some more, maybe Saturday. This is WU7N, turning it back to net control.
WU7N, thanks for sharing that with us. Let's go on to Gary, K7HYB.
7ZYM of the group, K7HYB. You're looking well tonight, Jim. And that's a very interesting device. I know you're listening, but you can hear. Anyway, here I am in all my glory. And anyway, yeah, I still haven't got any solid answer on what we may be going to be due for the streaming. Maybe nobody wants to commit to it. I don't know. Anyway, I'm really kind of curious, and that's quite a coup d'etat there that they got up there. Looks like they got multiple cameras, and all on one input. Huh? They must have a device up there that rotates the cameras around as far as input is concerned, and we'll have to see some more of that as the time goes on. Apparently that's a work in progress, and with neither Rod nor Bob here tonight to explain what's going on, I guess we're going to have to speculate. And I guess, Ron, you said something about an email, and I don't remember. I haven't seen it yet. I'll go over to my email on my laptop here, on my Surface, and take a look at it. And I'm getting about a P1.5 from the repeater tonight on the live side, so that's not too bad. I can actually make up my head, and I can't make up my features, but I can make up my head. And my the streaming is not doing too bad at all. Really quite pleased with the quality of my signal in tonight. Anyway, so I had a very quiet day. I had a good day today. I went up to, let me drop it here for a second. I got called for jury duty in the Evergreen District Court in Snohomish County for today, and I went up to report there at 8:30 in the morning, and by 9:30, quarter to 10, I was released. So I didn't have to do any service, fortunately. but I did meet my call, so I was a good citizen, I guess. And otherwise, Carol and I went up to the Snoqualmie Casino for lunch, gambled a little bit, and then came back here, and so we're sitting here talking to you guys at this time. That's my story. I'm sticking it to it. Back to you, Dave. KD7ZYM, K7HYB.
K7HYB, yes, jury duty. I've done that in the last few years. You're not going to break the bank with that check they give you for your services. So it might be good for one pull on the whatever you put your money down in the casino and wager that. But anyway, you did your duty, and thank you for your service on that. In King County, you get a whopping $10 a day for your services. And kind of interesting, the stream pixelated up at whatever my carrier is, and then I rebooted the computer. It still came up very heavily pixelated, and then all of a sudden it sort of cleared up when James came on, and you could see a picture coming up on the stream, so that was pretty good. The images are a little bit lower quality than I've seen on the 1.2 lately, so I don't know what's happening there. It could be a weather condition with this rain front coming in and whipping around the antenna up at the site. So that's about what I've got to say. So let's go back to Rod, KD7QKU, and maybe you can come up with some more imaginative ideas of whatever that instrument was that James had.
Okay, this is KD7QKU. Good evening, I guess, to Gary and James and Lee and Dave. I guess I didn't say that earlier. Well, I have no idea what it is, really. I did work, around the veterinary hospital when I was a kid. I never saw anything there like it either. Although they had instruments that were much larger than that, that they did things with, to give, look into things with. I was just thinking about jury duty. I had an old friend that went to jury duty some time ago, and he said that they didn't want him either. He said he sat there and he kept going to sleep, and every time then they would call on him or ask him something, he couldn't hear them, so, he'd say, "What did you say? What did you say?" And so, after a couple of times of that, they said, number 54 or whatever you were, you're excused. So he never got called back for jury duty again. So I don't know. Well, it's good that you, I guess you went in and did it, Gary. So let's see, what's going on? Well, not much is going on. My wife's out in the kitchen doing all kind of cooking. We go to our son Mike's house tomorrow, and then we're going to have some friends over here for dinner on Friday. And I was going to say, I was just curious, James, as to what you're going to do. If you have family to go to, I know your father passed away, maybe another relative or two. And we haven't heard from Bob Helling. I guess we're going to have to give him a call. And Gary made some comment about an email, which I guess I don't know what he's referring to. There was an email that came out a while back, but it didn't talk about anything like cameras or ports or anything. So when I was on the, when I turned the repeater on hard, I guess we call it. So I went over to one and I looked in the room. I didn't see anybody, and then I was sitting here, and then somebody taking it over. And so next thing I know, it's showing a picture of a computer screen, and there's a mouse moving around on it. So they must have been turning the cameras on and off through the computer. And then all of a sudden these pictures showed up. And so then I started playing with it, and because I wanted to know which channel the pictures were coming in on. So I ran through all the tones and figured out which one it was, and it was the third one. So I don't know. But like I say, if Bob wants to get on again and use his gadget, I don't know how he'll do it. So maybe Rob's got it all figured out. So it would be nice if Rob would show up sometime to tell us what's going on. So anyway, I don't have much else to say. I better turn it over to Lee before I run it out. Over to N7KC.
QJ disconnected.
Oh, it sounds like Rob was on Echolink. Okay, I have information. First, I want to talk about the video that you're seeing, I think. It turns out that Tiger Mountain has a video camera up on one of the towers there, and it streams video out, and so apparently they're receiving that down at Cougar, and they're feeding it into our controller channel number 3, and it's a video camera that looks at the site up there. I don't know how high it is on the tower, but maybe 50 feet. I don't know. It's pretty high, and it's a really nice picture. I've actually seen it. So Rob said, he texted me tonight just a little while ago and said that stuff was available on channel 3 if you want to switch it on. Okay, that gadget that James has, and while I was listening here, I Googled fishhook removal tool. And a number of them come up, and several of them are very suspiciously similar to what he has. Very, very, very similar to what he has, to be honest. And this business of having jury duty, I got called to jury duty over here in Clallam County. So I wrote the court a letter. And I asked him if it was okay to stop the trial fairly frequently so that I could go piddle. And so what happened was they sent me a permanent exemption letter. And I have this other problem with the clotting anomaly, and I said I can't really sit for long periods of time, and I do need frequent bathroom calls. They sent me a permanent exemption. So there you go. I don't have anything else. It's N7KC, Lee in Port Angeles, back to Ned.
When I get back to Ron thinking about using that by a proctologist or a urologist to remove a fish hook, it just kind of hurts thinking how that fish hook got to the area that Ron was curious about. Well, let's go on to James, WW7N.
Guys, when it comes to fish hook removal tools, no matter where the fish would be stuck in a fish or in you, wow, these are a lot scarier items than I would ever want. I think the story about fish hook removal that I'm reminded of is there was a salesperson that was selling surgical instruments of some type, and he was in a cafeteria, and an eye surgeon was saying something about how he couldn't get a fish hook out of someone's eyeball, and had to surgically remove it and suture it and replace the fluid and do a whole bunch of stuff. And the guy turned around and said, well, why didn't you just do what you do when you get a fish hook in your finger? You just push it all the way through so the barb comes out, cut it off, and then come back around the other way. You end up with two little holes in your finger. Sometimes the simplest approach is the best. The only other thing I could think of as I looked at this thing is maybe, tell me what you guys think of this, maybe this is a tool for eating crabs. I've been to a couple of crab fests. There was one aviation group I was with that would have one every year. I'm not a big fan of crab. It seemed like an awful lot of work for a very small amount of meat. But looking at the tool here, it looks like you could use the pointy end here, perhaps, to pry into some part of a crab and then turn it sideways and then, push this part here and perhaps you pry the lid off the crab or something. I don't know. That's just a guess on my part. Well, I see it's 8:45, and I have to say thank you to George for having a house that is so interesting because, let's face it, guys, we got a lot of entertainment value out of just one item. There's more to come. Let me turn it back to Net Control. This is WW7N.
Well, maybe it's a romaine lettuce remover that could be used very easily this week. But with that, let's go on to K7HYB. Gary.
And the frivolity never ends. KD7ZYM and the group K7HYB. Well, James, I tell you, we have had nothing but a good time with your frivolity and your continuous supply of undiscernible items. In other words, we can't figure out what the heck they are. Maybe you need to ask. Or maybe the wife doesn't know either. Maybe that's why she's getting rid of them. Anyhow, so yeah, Lee, I have to empathize with that. That's exactly the reason why they excuse me. Is I suffer from the same malady. I told the young lady that I said that I can't sit for a long period of time, and I need to make frequent trips to the bathroom, sometimes without any warning, and that's very embarrassing. And I didn't want to do that. And she went in and talked to the judge, and he said, "Kick the man out of here. We don't need him." So that was that was my extent for my jury duty today. I would have only served one day anyway, because the court's closed tomorrow and Friday. But sometime when we're together, I will give you my rendition of my service on a murder trial about 35 years ago, when I was a little younger. That's quite an experience. I'll have to relay that to you when we got more time. And being as how we're closing to the top of the hour, I'm going to say my 73s. And happy Turkey Day, everybody. I hope you all get your fill. And if you don't get your fill, it's your own damn fault. I'm going to my son's place in Monroe. Let me drop it. I'm going to my son's place in Monroe. We're going to have 14 people, including a couple of my granddaughters, my son and his wife, and some in-laws and outlaws from both sides of the family. So it sounds like all kinds of frivolity. There's usually lots of wine and beer and all kinds of interesting stuff. So happy Turkey Day, everybody. Y'all have a good one, and we'll see you on the next go-around. See you Saturday night. K7ZYM, K7HYB.
YB, and this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society Net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7ZYM. Let's go up to Ron, KD7QKU.
Okie dokie. This is KD7QKU again. I'm looking at the streaming. It's kind of herky-jerky over here at my house. About the only time I use the computer now is for net night so I can get Lee on Skype. But most of the time I use my Chromebook. It's so much faster. It loads up so much quicker. It seems like when I turn the computer on, it takes 20 minutes for it to go through all of its scans and everything. And if you rush it and you try to get it on before then, you just have difficulty with it. So anyway, if I want to do anything, I do it on the Chromebook. Bob talked me into buying this Chromebook 2 or 3 years ago, and I I didn't really use it very much. We carried it in the motorhome a couple of times. I could pick it up here and show it to you. Still talking. And it's wireless, and it's, you know, has a battery, so it works really good. So it was good for email, but then, you know, when we got our smartphones, or we decided we had our smartphones, I should say, that we didn't need anything else. So we look at email and everything on our smartphones. I use my phone so much it's ridiculous. But anyway, Joanne does too. We're hooked like a couple of teenagers, I guess. We have to check Facebook, and I have to look at the weather, and I have to see what's going on in some of the news stations and everything. So I guess I was still a little bit curious what James was doing for Thanksgiving, but maybe he doesn't want to share that. So anyway, let's see. Let me let it drop. Get pictures off of my phone, because I could show you. My son finally got all these permits out on his property, and they poured the footing a few days ago, and then they set the forms to pour the walls. They have to pour the footing and the wall in two separate pours according to the permits. So the walls are about 3 feet high. So he had them inspected yesterday, and they poured today, and they stripped the forms on Friday. And I think he has to backfill inside the foundation to cover the footing up with dirt. I don't know what that's all about. And then he has to backfill, I guess, some around the outside. I mean, I think they're forcing him to do that at this time. And I don't know if it has to be inspected or not before they can start framing the house. But the framers wanted to start on the 20th. Well, they're not going to start on the 20th, so hopefully they'll be able to start next week. So I don't even know if he's got his lumber package, to tell you the truth. So I'll see him tomorrow. I'll find out about that. So he's got, I hope he's got his lumber package. Okay, I guess I'll say 73s, and I don't know if Gary still has his repeater on, his ATV on or not, but it seemed to be having a lot of interference. Okay, back to that, and I guess good night all. Oh, let's go to Lee. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lee. N7KC.
Okay. All right, Lee here, N7KC in Port Angeles. Well, it's a really fun net tonight. A lot of laughs. I didn't, well, you know, Ron, the video signal you put in up there at Cougar is just stunning. I mean, I'm looking at myself right now. I've got a finger held up, and now what I'm going to do, when it gets around to me about 8 seconds here, you'll see my finger in the air. Okay, so it's 1001. 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, 1009, 1010. 10 seconds latency. And Rob said that it's on low latency, but not ultra low latency. And so it can be moved another notch to go a little faster. And I think what we figured out is the stream goes to... it goes kind of crazy when Gary comes on, and I think it is because there's just enough noise in there. It's got the codec confused, and so it's buffering. An enormous amount of frames it's buffering, and I think that might be the explanation. I don't know, but it does eventually catch up, and everything's fine. So Gary goes on much longer than 8 seconds in terms of latency per frame. And, you know, we're trying to figure out an explanation for that, but it looks like it's probably the codec gets confused. They have to do too much work to try to digitize the frame because every video frame is different. But no matter, you know, that's the nature of the beast. Okay, well, fun net again, 7-3 all around. I kind of doubt I'll be here Saturday night because of the of the big radio contest. I don't know how I'm scheduled in right now. It was going to be by 4-hour slots, and I just don't know. So anyway, thanks a lot, everybody, for a nice nap. This is N7KC. I'm Lee. I'm in Port Angeles. Good night.
If everyone will stand by for a minute, I'll go over and turn on and see if the camera's on. So stand by a second. Those look like radio towers with red lights on them or something, so maybe it's pointed at Bellevue or Seattle. Could be Seattle, it's just hard to say. It zoomed in. Whoever was controlling it earlier zoomed it in. Cougar, well, earlier I saw earlier I saw towers when they were showing it. You could see towers, and then I could see what looked like, what's the other hill right there by Issaquah? I could see it earlier. I can't see it now. It looked like it. It looked like the towers on top of that hill. And then, there's a multitude of cameras. So they were showing or positions, or it rotates or something. Oh, okay. So I think Lee's saying it swivels around. Okay, let me do one more thing here before we go. So I guess that's it. That's all I can show you. I don't know if there's more positions or not. All right, 73, everybody. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I'll probably be here on Saturday. Good night, all. Bye-bye.
Anything from anyone before we button up?
Control, this is James, WW7ATS.
7N, James, go ahead.
Thank you very much for inquiring. My apologies, I missed your question on my go-around. I'll be spending Thanksgiving at my sister's place, and so thank you very much for inquiring. It is an unconventional Thanksgiving for us, and thank you very much for your thoughts. It is going to be different this year. So this is James, WU7N, 73s, everybody.
And this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society Net. We'd like to thank the owners and operators of the 08 machine, the CTAC Repeater Group, for allowing us to have use of its machine on Wednesdays and Saturdays for our voice control for the Western Washington Amateur Television Society Net, held on Wednesdays and Saturdays between 8 and 9. So at this time, I'm going to be signing off on behalf of the Western Washington Amateur Television Society Net on the OA repeater. I'm Dave, KD7CYM at 2059. Good evening, all.
Station calling, you got to give it about 1 second before you start talking.
Dave, what are you going to do? I guess no comment. K7HYB, good evening, everybody.
Disconnected.
That's me controlling the inputs, Ron.
QKU. What did you say, Gary?
I said that's me controlling the inputs on the repeater.
KD7QKU.
KD7QKU, K7HYB, monitoring the frequency.